over how difficult it is for some people to leave the house when they've got social anxiety. You know, it's easy to say it, for people to go, yeah, it must be difficult, but when you're going through it, it's a nightmare. And I remember that's how I was about 15 years ago, which isn't really that long when you think about it. It kind of isn't, it kind of isn't. So I want to talk you through my story, and then I'm going to break down how you can overcome your fear of leaving the house, and not just leaving the house. That's just the starting point. But succeed, be successful in your life, achieve all your goals. That's what I done. And part of me doing that was so I could start teaching other people how they could do it. So step number one, I remember when I was in that place, a big mistake that I made at that time, and I believe you're making, is I was too ashamed to admit it to myself and to tell anybody else. And that's what was keeping this lie going. And the reason why there's many reasons why I was anxious to leave the house. On a superficial level, I guess, or surface level, if that makes sense. I was nervous to go down to the shop in case the shopkeeper started a conversation with me, and it was awkward, and I didn't really want to make eye contact with anyone. I didn't really want any attention. The reason why I didn't want to make eye contact with shopkeepers or anyone attention, because I felt so bad about myself, and I felt so bad about my position in life. I think I felt more bad, more ashamed, more humiliated at my position in life than I did with my actual personality. Because I always thought my personality was pretty cool. I always liked my personality. But my life situation, I hated it. And that was because I didn't have a relationship, I didn't have a girlfriend, and I wanted one. And I didn't hardly have any money. And in between that, I was in between working and not working. So I struggled to work in work environments because of my anxiety, paranoia, and depression, and feeling down. And at that time, what was really the worst part that I was going through, I was suffering with daily panic attacks in the morning. So every morning I'd wake up, I'd have this horrible, intense anxiety, which felt like it was there for quite a few hours. And so financially, I didn't have much money. I was struggling, stressed out, didn't have a girlfriend. I'm not going to say I didn't have any friends. That wouldn't be true. I did have some friends, but I still felt lonely, and I wasn't leaving my area. I wasn't growing as a person. And I didn't realise the damaging effects of not growing as a person at the time. I was just thinking, like, how can I get a girlfriend? How can I get a proper job and earn some money? And my big fear was, I don't want to be in a job that I don't enjoy, because I'd already gone through that, and have some, boss treating me bad or manipulating me, or being at work with colleagues and I don't feel comfortable with them, and I'm not enjoying my job, and every minute feels like an hour. So that conversation that's kind of where I was at back then. That's what I lived with every day. And then at times I didn't feel like I was being a man enough, and I wasn't I wasn't exercising. So there was so much depression because I wasn't taking action. I'm just trying to think what other things at the time were really bothering me, and the past was bothering me as well. Past was causing all this. So I think a lot of the bullying that I went through, a lot of disappointments. So I was dealing with all that, and I didn't have the strength and I didn't have the courage back then, to be honest. I didn't really trust people with my business, especially, with these mental health and anxiety struggles and the social anxiety. Other than, my mum, a couple of family, my dad too, as well. But even talking to parents, mum and dad wasn't always easy. I didn't want to stress them out and make them worried. So there's a long period where I just stayed in a lot, and the only time I did go out was like when I had to go out and pay a bill or get some food, and even then it was like I had to prepare, like I was going into a battle, just going over to Sainsbury's. So I really know what people go through because I've been through it. So what changed for me was, I remember this particular week where I was in so much pain, with the anxiety and the depression and the loneliness and just the sadness of it all. For about 4 days, it might be a week, in about 4 days, I just slept in bed the whole day and woke up around, 7, 8 in the evening. The reason I did that was because I didn't want to face the day. So I'd go to bed late and then sleep in all day. And then obviously I'd be starving because I'd be in bed all day. Then I'd feel more tired, and I'll just do the same thing the next day. And after doing that for a week, I've never felt so depressed in all my life. And that's when I started to get thoughts like, I just want to be dead. I just don't want to be here anymore. But thankfully, I didn't try and take my own life. But those thoughts went through my head. It was like, if I took my own life, I wouldn't have to deal with this. But now I was like, well, where would I go then? That might be a mistake. I don't want to go out, and of course I don't want to put pain on my family. So I was able to not do that, thank God. So breaking point for me was listening to a Les Brown YouTube video and hearing his story. I think the one thing that he said that made me feel better and motivated me to get out of that position was he basically said it's okay to fail. Like, failing doesn't make you a disgrace. It doesn't make you a person who's got no value in this world. And that's how I felt before. I didn't know that. I really didn't have that information. I didn't know that you could go from where I was to greatness. I didn't believe it in my own head. It just felt too far-fetched. That's like this in movies, a Rocky movie. So when he said that, you'll fail your way to success, I thought, well, I've been failing most of my life. How about getting some success? And he was almost like, failure's cool. As long as you keep trying and being accountable and trying to be a good person. And that gave me some kind of permission to give myself permission. So my mentality started to change. I just got that, I had no choice anymore. So where before I was always avoiding those emotions, those triggering points in social situations, with social anxiety, it's not just social, it's life anxiety. You're anxious around people because you don't feel good about what's going on in your life. It's all these things. There's a lot of things going on. There's so much to deal with mentally for a young man that it's easier just to block it out, watch movies, watch porn. I did all these things, watch porn, movies, ate lots of cakes, but that wears off and then you feel even worse again. So what you've got to do is you've got to just break things down in steps. So my first thing was, well, I'm gonna start going out the house and I'm gonna stay in shops for longer. I'm gonna go and do shopping. I'm gonna go and get my hair cut. Where I'd usually pop out, for a little bit of food or a takeaway and then just run back home, I started to say, no, I'm not going to do that no more, because that's not going to get me nowhere. That's not going to get rid of this anxiety. So I'd start going for long walks. I'll start doing shopping, going to Sainsbury's, walking around, just getting more comfortable in public places. And I'd go on trains. What I would personally do, what worked for me, I would dare myself to be brave. Like, there were two conversations. Part of me that was negative, that social phobia, that didn't want to do anything, wanted to avoid people, stay at home, not really come out of the house. I would dare that part. I'd say, I dare you to go and do that. And it was such a positive voice that I created, an affirmation, kept me moving forward. And obviously a lot of these situations you go and you do feel awkward, you don't feel great, but you feel great afterwards because you went through it, you faced it. And psychologically, that's all you need for your positive psychology. All your psychology cares about, that part is, did you face it, yes or no? If you didn't, it's going to shame you for it, make you feel terrible. If you did, it's going to reward you and say, more, keep going. So I guess I'm taking you through the psychology, which is the most important bit, before we get to the actual, maybe we won't even get to the practical bits that it might not be relevant. I'll see if this feels right. So far, this feels great. If you're getting value from this and you're in this position, hit that like button. Let me know. Don't be silent. I appreciate all the support. All your support counts. Your voice is just as important as anyone else. Let me know in the box below. Subscribe to the channel. So one of the things that did help me was when I'd get overwhelmed, I wouldn't think too far ahead. I wouldn't be like public speaking, running a business, making money, selling, going out, teaching, getting a go, because that would just terrify me. So I'd have to simplify it and say, well, just going down the gym one day. Let me just focus on getting down the gym, doing some boxing, just getting in there, see what happens. Just get through the door, speak to the trainer, ask to join the class, and I did that. I believe it was the little things that I did that gave me the confidence that I've got now, that led to now. Because all the little things I did added up to the bigger things. So the idea with social anxiety is you do something that's kind of scary, a little thing, you get a little bit more courage, you do that again, maybe 5 times, and then you get to a point where, metaphorically, you start filling your cup, and you're like, I'm ready to go and do a bigger thing. So I did all these things. I went to events, I went to other people's events where there were like 10, 15 people, to get around people, to learn, obviously, from the lecturer or the teacher that was running the class at that time. I went to different groups, dating, confidence. Actually, I went to a little bit of dating, actually, but a lot of social groups, a lot of groups on personal development. I did that to get around it, and it really did help. And obviously, I met people. So it's a gradual thing. And that's how you've got to do this, because the mind tends to work in the opposite way. It's like you've got to do everything today. You've got to be from A to B successful straight away. And if you're not, you're a terrible person. But that's not how it works for anyone. But the quicker you start, the quicker time will start speeding up and you will be where you want to be. So I did that, and in between that I started to be specific about my goals, which is so important, because then you know where you put your focus. And what I will say is, right, every time you face the fear of leaving the house and facing your social anxiety and going into social situations, you're always going to have that part of you that's going to say, I don't feel like doing it. Like it's going to go, not today, like maybe next week. But that's the trick. That's what you've got to overpower and fight. And when you do that, you're going to overcome this problem. Or you're at least going to be able to have more confidence than you have anxiety. It flips on its head, if that makes sense. At the start, confidence is down here, social anxiety is up here. But as you do this exposure therapy and you keep practicing it, and you don't take long breaks and you build that momentum, the social anxiety starts going, the confidence goes up. So the trick is to not talk yourself out of socializing. So if you socialize one day, you know, you want to get back out the next day or the day after at least. You've got to keep it going. You've got to do it for months. And then when I would say, you can't put a time, everybody's different, but just to give like a ballpark figure, I would say a year of constant practice, you're going to be a different person. You won't recognize yourself, your family, your friends, you're going to be so much more confident. So I just got braver and braver from taking action and exposing myself to different social situations, like I said. I did it, you know, I practiced being a bit more social with my original social circle family. Then I went to the gym, and obviously I met the boxers. I trained, did amateur boxing, did the sparring, which gave me a lot of confidence. And then I started dating, going on dates with women. That was nerve-wracking. That gave me so much confidence. And then I started obviously running my own business, and that gave me so much more confidence. Doing public speaking, running my own events was such a good way to build people up and also keep building myself up. So you could do a number of these things that I'm saying. Anyone can do this. I'm a normal person, whatever that means. But I think you understand that. You know, some people, it's not that they're not normal, but you can't relate to them. Some people just have that factor about them, and I don't think I've got that factor about me. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'll make people feel comfortable to do this. And believe it or not, you don't realise how brave you are. Because logically, when you feel like a coward and you're scared and you're not taking action, it's hard to see yourself as a brave person because you're not taking action, right? And that's just factual. But as soon as you start taking action and you've got consistency, I'll say that again. As soon as you start taking action and you've got consistency, you feel like a different person. When I say different person, you don't feel like that person that you hate, that person that you're ashamed of, that you feel that people are judging or people don't value, they don't respect, all those conversations that are negative. You feel like a confident person, you feel good enough, and then that just rubs off. You know, success breeds success, confidence breeds more confidence, momentum breeds more momentum. So it's really just about moving forward. But obviously psychologically, you've got to coach yourself into putting yourself in these situations, because you're always going to have that resistance. That's the negative aspect of social anxiety, is resistance, defense mechanisms and avoidance. All the same really. Avoidance is resistance. You resist, I don't want to go and speak to that person. I want to speak to that group. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to speak to shopkeepers. I don't want to be out in public. I don't want to be on the train, people looking at me. It's getting past that. And for the most part, you've got to sit in discomfort. That's what I had to do. You've got to sit in those feelings, because only through sitting through those feelings are they ever going to go away and diminish. And then you're going to get the feelings that you want, you know, the comfort, the confidence, the relaxation. So it's a process of starting off comfortable, getting really uncomfortable, sitting in the feelings, growing, obviously coming back, having your rest, back to comfort again, back to discomfort again, back to comfort again, back to discomfort again. And if you keep with that, all of this will be worth it. It's definitely worth it. It's way better going through pain, discomfort, anxiety to get to a happy, confident, successful place, as opposed to the original standpoint or point of view where you're just in depression. You just want to avoid everyone. So you've got to go through that stage of being an awkward person and nervous around people, or at least then maybe people don't see you like that, because a lot of times people never saw me like that. People are like, you're not awkward. But I felt it in myself. I didn't feel easy around people. Then over time, I went from, let's go from one place to another. I went from not being able to leave the house, really struggling to leave my house and just go and buy a pint of milk, to then going out on stage and doing public talks in front of large groups of people every month consistently. And then, teaching like 5 to 6 clients a week, also with the public speaking and doing YouTube videos and going on interview shows. I did all that. How did I do it? Exactly what I'm telling you in this video. I'm not leaving anything out. But obviously, I set my mind. I made a decision. I made a commitment. And you've got to make that commitment. If you keep putting it off and saying, "Oh, I'm 20, I'll do it when I'm 25," you're gonna get older. You're gonna lose time. So the time is now. Now, obviously, people ask me questions like, did you have mentors? And I did have mentors, but there were periods where I did a lot on my own. But of course, I had it in boxing. I had friends that were confident women that rubbed off on me. So if you want to invest in mentorship, get in touch and I can help you. I can help you with your social anxiety in all the areas, or the specific area, whether it's dating or just social anxiety as a whole. I've got a tailor-made online program for that, where I can work with you, speak to you every week. And if the online program isn't as appealing to you, I've got an in-person program, so 2 different programs, online and offline. And we can do a Zoom call and discuss which one would be right for you, and also where you're at, what your goals are. But obviously, I pretty much know what your goal is. Your goal is to get more socially confident. But within that, you might have your specific goals, like get a girlfriend, go on a date, start a business, so do you understand what I mean? So get in touch. My email is below. But yeah, I'm going to do a lot more videos on this. But yeah, you just take one step at a time. You never really believe you're going to get there until you get there, but the steps you take start to make you believe that you're going to get there, because all you've got to see is progress. The good thing about social anxiety is if you face it, it is a blessing in disguise. It will change your life. It will give you skills, tools. It will help you to make more money. It will help you to help other people to make more money, travel, many different things. So, if you can take something from this, then take it and go and apply it. But I'd say one of the biggest strengths is asking for help, and not doing what I did many years ago, which is resist help and prolong the process of being successful, because I could have done it quicker probably if I would have asked for help a bit sooner and opened up about it. But that's life. I wouldn't change it. Maybe I wouldn't be in this position, but for you, it would be, I would say, much better for your self-esteem to admit what you're struggling with, talk to a trusted person, and then take action on it. That's really what a successful person does. Any person with a good character admits there's a problem and then goes out to find a solution and solves that problem, all right? I'll see you in the next video. Have a good weekend, guys, all right?